Welcome. I am Pastor Bartholomew L. John. I am always grateful for this opportunity to share with you from God's holy book. And I do hope and pray that the time we spend together is enhancing you in your spiritual maturity. Well, today I'm going to talk to you about divine possibilities in the hands of God. Here are some scripture references I'll be drawing from. All right, well, the text is taken from the four Gospels. I'll be reading excerpts from the four Gospels. But to open, I will look at John chapter 6, verses 3 to 9, and Matthew chapter 14, verse 18. All scriptures will be taken from the King James Version. And it reads, "And Jesus went up into a mountain, and there he sat with his disciples. And the Passover, a feast of the Jews, was nigh. When Jesus then lifted up his eyes, and saw a great company come unto him, he said unto Philip, Whence shall we buy bread, that these may eat? And this he said to prove him, for he himself knew what he would do. Philip answered him, 200 pennyworth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may take a little. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said unto him, There is a lad here which hath 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. But what are they among so many? He said, Bring them thither to me. Well, this scene took place at the time when the disciples that Jesus had sent out, the 70 he sent out to minister to the lost sheep of Israel. They came back and they were rejoicing that the demons were subject to them. They had a very good, very successful campaign ministering because Jesus had empowered them to go. They came back, but then they had to deal with the death and burial of John the Baptist because Herod had taken off his head and they had to bury him. So exhaustion from ministering, emotional strain from the death of the forerunner of Jesus. They needed some time off to refresh, to relax, to replenish emotionally and physically. And actually, they did not even have time to eat sometimes. So Jesus said, guys, we need to take some time off from ministering because we will be no good if we empty. So let's go to a remote place and relax. Well, the people knew the spot. They saw them in the boat, and the people ran from all the cities to the place where Jesus and his disciple had in mind to go to spend some time alone. The people will not let Jesus alone. Every opportunity They had to be with him. They gathered in his presence because Jesus had always something to give, something to offer, never demanding, never extracting from the people, always giving to the people, and they become accustomed to him, and they knew he was the person and the presence to be in. So anyway, the people got there before Jesus could have gotten there, he and his disciples. Now, if you are exhausted from ministering to people and you want some time to refresh yourself, you find a way to escape from the people. You go through the back door, you detour, you do something, right? Not Jesus. He's not going to run from those who come to him, because those who come to him, he will in no wise despise or turn away empty. That's a minister of the people, for the people. So anyway, Luke tells us when Jesus saw the multitude, and it was the time of the Passover, so the crowd will be enormous, he did not send them away. But look what he did. Luke 9:11, the second part. And he received them and spake unto them of the kingdom of God, and healed them that had need of healing. Compassion will always supersede personal need. Compassion for others. Jesus was full of compassion. He could not send them away. Because you see, he knew also too that man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of God. So he taught, he healed, he ministered, and it's now getting towards the evening. It's getting dark. They're in a deserted place, in a mountainside, and no shops and stuff there. So, and they have to be there for a while. So the disciples, being conscientious of the people's well-being, also, and that's a true disciple of Jesus, you'll be like him. So they were concerned of the people, the crowd of people that was there listening to Jesus. So they went to Jesus and they made a very good, to me, compassionate suggestion to him. Mark 6:35. And when the day was now far spent, his disciples came unto him and said, This is a desert place, and now the time is far past. Send them away, that they may go into the country round about, and into the villages, and buy themselves bread, for they have nothing to eat. I'm hearing the applause. Wow. What a considerate group of disciples Jesus had. The people are hungry. They've been there, would be all day then, listening to Jesus. Now it's getting late. They couldn't Uber no food. They couldn't Uber Eats, no food. They got to go physically to the shops or the stores to buy the food. And we didn't have 24-hour service. We didn't have Walmart, 24-hour service. You have to go sun up to sundown. So the apostles, the disciples said, Jesus, the people would not leave you while you're here. Send them to the cities. Send them now, before it gets too dark and too late. We didn't have lights like now. They have no vehicle, they have to walk. Send them to the store to buy them their own food, that they may eat, because they are hungry and they have nothing to eat. Now, most leaders will say, yeah, you're right, send them away. Jesus did not. His answer is impossible. I'm talking about divine possibilities in the hand of Jesus, but his response to them, and if you were there, I want you to know, I want you to tell me, how would you respond to this command and statement that Jesus made to them in response to their concern for the people's well-being? Matthew 14, verse 16. But Jesus said unto them, they need not depart. Give ye them to eat. I could see, and if it was you and me here, in that place, the disciples are looking at each other. Jesus said, you do not need to let the people leave this place, this deserted place, this remote place. Give them to eat. Now, the apostles looked at the crowd, and we're going to find out it's around 5,000 men plus women and children. 5,000 men, about that. And Jesus is telling his disciples, they just came from a victorious campaign, casting out demons and working miracles. But that one is an impossible demand. Do not send them to the cities to buy their own bread. You feed them. I believe that we could interpret it another way. Jesus, okay, let me put it this way. We know the task is impossible, humanly speaking. There is no way anyone at that time, in that place, would be able to command enough bread to feed 5,000 men plus women plus children, enough for them to be satisfied. We know that. But that's what Jesus commanded. Now, the apostle said, send them so they could buy their own bread. Before we look at the impossible command. The apostle said, Lord, let the people go find their own food. We're not going to feed them. That's their responsibility. Jesus said, no. They came to listen to me, so we're going to feed them. What a concept. Could you imagine if the ministries today will focus on the people's need rather than the people supplying the need of the ministers? Jesus said, no. Don't send them away. You feed them. So now I could believe the disciples looking at each other. What is Jesus talking about? Feed them with what? They didn't ask him. No one asked him. Well, it's not recorded they did. They probably thought about it. What is Jesus talking about? I could see, Peter was one who always talked. So Peter probably looked at his brother and said, is Jesus okay? Feed them with what? Where are we going to get the bread to feed them? I'm talking about divine possibilities in the hands of God. They're not seeing that. So Jesus tried to help them. So he asked Philip a question. I don't think the question is going to help either. But let's look at the question Jesus asked Philip. John 6:5, the second part. He said unto Philip, when shall we buy bread that these may eat? I want you to look at that verb, that auxiliary verb, shall, in Jesus' statement. Philip did not discern it, but it is important. Shall is an auxiliary verb that implies certainty and choices. What Jesus asked Philip was not where can we. Can would be what you call uncertain verb, auxiliary verb, helping verb. Where shall we? Where are we going to buy the bread? I want you to think about somebody coming to you and asking you, where can I buy an item? You will assume, or from the statement conclude that the person does not know the availability of the item. They don't know where to find the item. So you tell them, go to that place. If somebody asks you, where should I buy? Then you naturally assume that they are talking about selection, choices. Where should they go? And you say, well, go to that store. Don't go to this store. Don't go to that store. Go to this store, because you're making a choice. Philip missed it. Jesus was not asking Philip if we're going to find the bread. He said, where are we going to get it from? You from Bethsaida. Tell me, where should we go get the bread? Philip did not hear that because he was dealing with human understanding, human reasoning. So Philip responded logically, like many of us would respond. Verse 7, Philip answered him, 200 pennyworth of bread is not sufficient for them, that every one of them may take a little. Jesus, we have 200 pennies worth, 200 days worth of money in the bag. Even if we take all the money we have in our ministry and try to get bread that this crowd will be satisfied as you want to satisfy them, is not possible. It is impossible. If we buy all the bread with all the money, it won't be enough for them to get a little snack, a taste, much less to assuage their hunger. But Jesus was not searching. He knew the answer. He was testing Philip to see how Philip would have responded. And Philip responded exactly as how you and I would have responded, logically, not seeing divine possibilities in the hand of Jesus. We're seeing limitations, insufficiency, obstacles, how it cannot be done, why it cannot be done. And most time we forfeit the hand of God because we do not see his hand and the possibilities he could work in our situations. 200 pennies worth is not enough. But they had something though. The next verse tells us that Peter's brother, Andrew, informed Jesus of the supply on hand. Verses 8 and 9. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said unto him, there is a lad here, which had 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes, but what are they among so many? What are you going to do with 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes? What are you going to do to feed 5,000 men plus women and children? I don't know, but my mind, my spiritual mind need to be stretched. I need to get to a place where I do not first see limitations and obstructions and why it cannot be done. I have to train my mind, whatever situation I am dealing with, to see divine possibilities once it is in the hands of God. So my situation, I must put it in the hands of God. And once it is in the hands of God, the possibilities are endless. We are not trained like that. We exhaust and then we go to God. And sometimes we don't even believe God is going to work it out. Because we look at the symptoms, we look at the signs. Sometimes there is no evidence. But that's what our faith does for us. It helps us See God, put it in God's hand, and there are endless possibilities with God, limitations with man. So there is a lad here which had 5 barley loaves and 2 small fishes. But what are these about many? Hear what Jesus told him though. Matthew 14:18. He said, bring them thither to me. Bring them to me. 5 loaves, 2 small fishes, bring them to me. Whatever you have, bring it to him. That's what he said. They are thinking impossibility. Impossibility. There is no way. There is no way. Jesus said, bring what you have to me. Now we're told he was testing Philip because he knew what he would do. Jesus already knew what he would do. Now I am facing some challenges, and guess what I told myself? I don't know how God will do it. I don't know what God will do, but he knows what he will do in my situation that seems impossible. I am not responding like Philip. I am not responding like Andrew because I have their record. I have the experience. I know what God could do with whatever little I have. So what I am training my mind and my thoughts and my emotions and my heart to not focus on the limitations I have, but see divine possibilities in the hands of God. Divine possibilities. Jesus blessed it. He put him in to sit down. He fed them. All 5,000 men were fed. There were 12 baskets left over. I wonder what the conversation was. As Jesus blessed 5 barley loaves, 2 small fishes, he gave it to the disciples. He said, go feed the people. Now, the apostles did not doubt. They did not contradict. They did not say, but Jesus is still 5 loaves and 2 fishes here. They did not. You see, now the faith and the faith has been strengthened, and now they're seeing the impossibilities for them are now possible with God. They still saw 5 loaves and 2 fishes in the basket, but they took it and they obeyed Jesus' command. They realized maybe there is something we're missing, and they start feeding. Each one of them had a basket when they start feeding. And well, the two, they start giving, and then realize how did it happen though? Because in the basket there were 5 loaves, right? And 2 small fishes. So they would give a loaf, and then it remains the 5 in the same basket. And now if it's just one basket, then it would be one disciple, but it was the whole disciples feeding the people, because one person won't feed 5,000 people in that time. So this basket that Jesus blessed had been multiplied. He had to be multiplied. That 5 loaves and 2 fishes here, those guys give 1 loaf, there's another loaf. They give 1 loaf, there's another loaf. So the basket was never empty, and they had leftovers. So if they had 12 baskets leftovers, each of the apostles had a basket. They started with just 5 and 2. They ended up with 12 extra baskets. Why are we doubting God? Divine impossibilities? No, divine possibilities. Human impossibilities, divine possibilities in the hands of God. I don't know. Did the conversation on the way home? The people themselves, they had enough. They ate enough until they were satisfied. They had enough and each one was satisfied. Philip said, Philip said, we don't have enough to give them a taste. Jesus said, no, you have more than enough to satisfy them fully. And everyone demands and needs were met because Jesus is the miracle worker. Today we have to see him in our circumstances. We have to see him in what seems impossible. If I could get my mind on that message, and when Jesus asked Philip, where are we going to buy the bread? He already selected, he had in mind places to go. I'm not seeing barriers. I cannot see barriers. I have to see divine possibilities. Divine possibilities. Look at your situation that you're facing. How long have you been trying? How does it look? Impossible? Yeah, for us. For us, it is impossible. What are you seeing now? Can you see Jesus lifting up and blessing whatever little? The finances are not enough for the project you plan that will glorify God. Divine possibilities. The healing that you don't look for anymore because the doctor gave you a diagnosis and a prognosis. And you just believe that because they must be right, because look at what's happening. Divine possibilities. Your situation with your family, it seems hopeless, and now you want to just bail out. You just want to just give it up because you don't see any way God could fix it. Divine possibilities is there. Your job situation? Oh, please. You think God can touch that? Divine possibilities. So as you look at your life, you look at your family life, it's not prospering, things are not going well, and there are just obstacles, problems over problems, and your heart is now consumed with the problems, and you see failure, and you see rejection, and you see embarrassment, and you see shame. God is not going to fail you. You have to believe him. You have to do what the apostles did and take the basket from him, though it looked little. They took it from him, and they went. Actually, they made the men sit first. Expectation. Food is coming. Sit down at the table on the grass, and they took the basket. And we don't know, as I said, how the process worked. I don't need to know how the process worked. I need to know it works. It works. Everyone needs were met at that place. So, as you go forward today, you have to see the hand of God. You have to see divine possibilities. If that's your phrase, and that's my phrase, I start dealing with a situation, and when I see the negative, I said, okay, God, divine possibilities. And I'm trying to see it. I'm trying to see it. And that has encouraged me. That has given me the faith and the hope, because what is impossible with us is not impossible with God. Well, as I close, I want to just remind us that there was a situation in the Bible where a man had a withered hand. In Matthew chapter 12, verse 13. And Jesus told him, stretch forth your hand. The man did not say, well, my hand cannot go forth. It's withered, Lord. How am I going to stretch it out? He did not. He didn't question. He didn't use human intellect, reasoning, common sense, logic. He just obeyed the command, and he stretched forth his hand. And the Bible says, it's when he stretched it forth, then he became whole. The hand was restored. And I want to be like that man. Jesus gave a command, put it in my hands. And you're asking God, but what are you going to do with it? Well, you couldn't handle it. You couldn't handle it, but you think God cannot handle what you couldn't handle? You think God cannot handle what you cannot handle? Put it in his hand. Divine possibilities in the hands of God. All right. All right. May God help us to see his hands rather than the impossible. You see, God sometimes allows us to encounter impossible situations so that we may discover divine possibilities. So your situation might be hopeless right now. To you, it's not hopeless with God. Believe God. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not onto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and you will see the divine possibilities if you put it in the hands of God. Well, until next time, God bless and keep you in perfect peace.